Hope so. We are having a lovely day here. Actually, I will do the MC for the day. Myself, Akshay Lakshmi. I am working as a guest faculty in Bharatiya University. I request Dr. Sujata Malni ma'am to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you. At the outset, I'm so happy to welcome you all the participants, everyone who have joined with us and still going to join with us. So a heartfelt welcome to all of you. And I also welcome the coordinator, Dr. Suresh Kumar Murugesan, and Master of Ceremony of Ananya Lakshmi and Akshaya Lakshmi for being with us and making this program a grand success. On behalf of the Department of Special Education and Rehabilitation Science, Aragappa University, Department of Psychology, American College, we are so happy to welcome today's speakers, Professor Shanmukh Kamble, Professor of Clinical Psychology from Karnataka University, as the first speaker in this fourth day of international webinar on mental health and wellness during COVID-19 pandemic situation. I hope for the last 3 days, all the speakers, they have presented their views and their topic related to nurturing relationship and how to overcome the problems related to COVID-19, the impact of psychosocial problems during this pandemic situation, and how to cope up with that, and how to develop mental health among children. So various topics have been discussed for the past 3 days, and I'm so happy that today, today's speaker will be going to give the power of forgiveness, which is most important thing that is needed in this critical situation and that current situation, where this forgiveness is very important to nurture our interpersonal relationship. So in this aspect, I'm so happy that all the participants will be benefiting out of this session. So wholeheartedly, on behalf of the Department of Special Education and Department of Psychology from Alagappa University and American College, we wholeheartedly welcome today's speaker. Welcome you, sir. And I welcome the coordinator, Dr. Suresh Kumar, who is coordinating this program along with me for the past 3 days and yet 4 days to go. So I'm so happy. So he is having a very enthusiastic and zeal to conduct this type of online series programs. So in this regard, I also welcome you, sir. I also welcome formally the both MCs, and I also welcome all the participants from various universities, institutes, and colleges from Tamil Nadu and from other states of India and from other parts of our country and other country. So in this regard, I am so happy. Yesterday, we had around 450 participants, both inside the Zoom meeting and in YouTube Live. They have watched the programs and they had received information related to psychology. So today also, I expect the same strength of participants from various parts of our country and other country to join with us and benefit from the talk of our today's speaker. Thank you for giving this opportunity. Thank you, sir. Suresh, sir. I welcome you to introduce the speaker.
Yes, Ananya.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the lovely welcome address. Now I request Ms. Ananya Lakshmi, Assistant Professor, Department of Psychology, MSSW College, to give the introduction for the today's speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Akshaya, for giving me the opportunity. Dr. Shanmukh Kamble, I'm really glad to introduce him. I have attended one of his sessions and it was really amazing. Doctor is a professor of psychology from Karnataka University, India. He is a positive psychologist and he's working on emotions, forgiveness, religion, values, and justice. He's a wonderful speaker, and I'm glad that you are here as a speaker. So please do. We are all waiting for your session. I welcome you the most. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Yes, sir. Please take over the session, sir. Thank you, sir.
Suresh, sir, I can start my
Yes, sir.
presentations.
Yes, 1 minute. I will stop from here. Yes, you can share your.
Okay. Okay.
Sanmukh, sir.
Yeah. It's taking a little time to buffer.
Okay. So after that, I
I
will
hope it's
few more points about Sanmukh, sir. See, I
yes.
think you all know that we are conducting webinar in a different forum. So
Yes.
most souted speaker in our webinar series. Three of them are there. One of them is an Sanmukh sir. That is the point I would like to highlight here. And we are going to start one of the association, Indian Association of Mental Health and Wellbeing. He is going to become the founding member, and then the
Okay.
we are going to announce it today. Well, that is an
Okay. So thank you.
yes, sir.
Shall we start with the presentations?
Yes, sir. F5, sir. Full screen.
Full screen. Thank you.
Okay. Now I start with the power of forgiveness.
Yes,
So when we start with talking about forgiveness, what forgiveness is not becomes a very important issue for us. So I felt that first I should try to clarify what forgiveness is. So it is not something we call as it's pardoning, especially when the person has committed a crime. They'll ask sort the president of India to whom they go, and they'll ask them for pardoning. Pardoning is a legal term. It's not psychological. Forgiveness is not condoning. Condoning is when you're trying to justify has done certain offense. That is, we are trying to say that I deserve this abuse or I deserve this sort of behavior which a person is trying to exhibit towards me. Let us try to forgive him. It's not forgiveness. Forgive. Hello?
So seems to be your voice is breaking.
I think there's a little connection problem here. Connection problem ಇದೆ. Harish, connection problem ಇದೆ ಅಂತೇನು?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, just a minute. I'll just correct it. Harish? Can you hear me?
Sir,
It still is breaking, sir.
Still breaking. Yeah. Forgiveness is not forgetting. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is
Thank
it
you.
clear? Okay, thank you. So forgiveness is not forgetting. Forgetting is like it's like an event as transgression has happened, and these people have a tendency to forget a particular event. That is not forgiveness. Forgiveness is not that is unwillingness or can say inability to pursue harmful injuries that one has caused or it has occurred. And forgiveness is not reconciliation also. reconciliation of both parties come together and they try to sort out the conflict. Like it could be India Pakistan together or a husband and wife sitting together and trying to repair their fractured relationship. That is not forgiveness. Now, when we come to the definition, I would like to talk about two important things that we have been using sometimes. So when in 1999, I started off his research works, and his work started when he was basically an educational psychologist, and then he started talking about forgiveness. He defined in terms of the pro-social change in building thoughts, emotions, and behavior towards the blameworthy transgressor. That is one of the definition. And the second definition, which I have been using it for all my research works, which I'll be presenting in front of you only to say, and if any of you are doing research work, probably be sharing a lot of information about the scales and all the minute details. So basically, when I'm trying to do my presentation, I'm trying to talk about this particular work which I have carried out. We have defined what is forgiveness.
Excuse me,
Now,
sir. Sorry, sir, your voice is still breaking. Is it okay if Suresh sir shares the screen so that I think?
oh, okay. No problem, no problem.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. Actually, the fluctuation ಆಗ್ತದೆ computer. ಇಲ್ಲ. Okay.
Can you repeat my WhatsApp number, sir? Yeah, we'll take care of presentation here.
So,
Sorry for the inconvenience, participants.
yeah.
Nice.
Okay, sir. You can reduce the usage of the network, so voice doesn't break.
Sorry.
PPT share ಮಾಡಂತದ. I don't know, they're still not able to hear.
There is a break in your voice, sir. In the beginning, sometimes you are getting clearly your voice. Sometimes there is an fluctuation in the audio.
ಇಲ್ಲ.
Sir, you can send me your PPT to my WhatsApp number.
Yeah. Sir, can you hear my voice now? Is it clear?
Very clear, sir. Thank you.
Is it okay for me to continue now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So from the beginning, you can.
Yeah. Okay. I'll start. Now is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Talk here only.
Because his mic is here.
Okay. Okay. Now, now my definition of forgiveness. Then we are going to talk about what forgiveness is not first, basically, and then we will talk about which particular model of forgiveness where I have been using it, or which we can use it in order to test so many of our hypotheses. And then I'll be talking about two major uh, so forgiveness is not forgiveness as pardoning, because it is becomes a legal concept where the head of the institute or the king or the queen or the president will try to forgive a person, or will try to say that we are not going to send you behind the bars, or maybe we are not going to let you be hanged. So it is a more of a legal concept. We use the word as pardoning. So forgiveness is not pardoning. It cannot be condoning or excusing. In generally what happens is, when a person does a transgression is hurting a person by taunting them, or by cheating them, or hurting them in such a way that it helps person to carry a relationships. It is forgetting. When we talk it, we speak more about it in terms of forgetting as a memory lapse, but this cannot be. Forgiveness is not forgetting as such, and we cannot call forgiveness as denial, trying to say this particular event or never happened. And nowadays that American talking to each other, two countries also, you can say, or between a husband and wife also. We call it as reconciliation, and it is usually called in by parents or maybe a tribunal. So reconciliation, but we cannot call it as forgiveness as such, because just something like give and take that takes place in reconciliation, but forgiveness does not give and take as such. So when it comes to definition, there are two definitions. So since I didn't use his definition for my most researches, I would like to go to the second definition, that is reduction in revenge, avoidance, increase in benevolence, and conciliation towards the transgressor or transgression. What's the meaning of it? Without the other person's knowledge, they must have taken away their land, or maybe something they have done which had really hurt them a lot. Or even trying to tell lies is also a very big crime which is committed as such. So during that time, what happens between these two individuals? The person who has done this act becomes the transgressor, and the other person is going to be the victim as such. Now, when the victim will start feeling a sense of revenge, this person has hurt me, I am going to take a revenge, they start feeling. When they cannot take revenge, they will try another simpler work of trying to avoid this person whenever this person comes around. And if that also fails, this person, they just generally, when a person is hurt, they generally go doing this revenging as well as avoidance as such. But here in forgiveness, there's going to be a benevolence, that is, you'll start liking the person, or you might start doing the conciliation. Conciliation is you will start feeling positive emotions toward this particular person. So when we define it in terms of forgiveness, it is reduction in revenge, avoidance, and increase in benevolence, and conciliation towards transgressor or transgression. It's very difficult. In fact, it is very easy to say I can forgive a person, but when it comes to practice, it's very difficult. Because imagine the person who comes in front of you, he has hurt you, and you'll always have a revenge attitude towards them, and you will always feel a sense of negativity or resentment, or you'll be trying your best to avoid them. But here we are trying to profess and say that you should start showing benevolence, that is good behavior towards them, and you are calling for a conciliation as such. Now, it's very common. the relationship could be having a lot of up and downs. So there could be a person there could have been a hurtful situation or an offensive condition that must have happened between two individuals. This happens to happen in relationships, in families, it could be happening, in workplace it can happen, or it could be some crimes and political and economical interactions also. And it is very common for a human being to hold grudges about them. You always feel like avoiding the person. And this is very family as because the other person has transgressed them or hurt them, what they have done is they're trying to break up the relationship itself. And here are the three models which I'm going to talk about. First model, this is the on which I've been working in what you call it as, it is stress and coping model of forgiveness. The second one, which you all can also try to work, it is called as the process model of forgiveness, a very beautiful work where each and every step, it's almost like diary writing, where you're trying to focus on your emotions, on your cognition, and on your behaviors. It's a lovely one, in fact, but I could not go ahead with that. The third one we have is the evolutionary model of forgiveness. That is given by Michael McClough. What he says is, over a period of time, you'll be and what you call it as exercises of forgiveness, you will start reducing from being unforgiveness to forgiving personality as such. That is over a span of or a period of time it happens. Now, I would like to talk to you all about the stress and coping model of forgiveness. I'll try to put it in a very short nutshell. You could be seeing a lot of information which is being flashed over here. Transgression is moral and relational injustice that violates people's physical, psychological, relational, or spiritual boundaries. Once when a person hurts another individual, it's quite obvious. There could be a physical distortions or psychological imbalance or relationship getting fractured, or the spirituality also, or the spiritual relationship also trying to have its own way. And unforgiveness is an emotional and motivational state towards an offender. That is why we're seeing using the word emotional is you'll develop a lot of negativity here. That is, negative emotions come to the highest level, and motivational because you either want to hurt them, take revenge on those people. That's the reason we're using it as a motivational state. You are trying to seek for justice. If this person has hurt me, I should also settle the scores. I also should feel that that person also understands my level of pain as such. During this particular period of time, we have used the stress and coping theory of Lazarus. What we are trying to tell here is, when a person undergoes this particular stressful condition of transgression, you want to do your best of what you can do it could be from trying to ask for an apology, or it could be you trying to forgive this person. And it is quite obvious the people who have undergone this sort of or hurtful or insulting situation or conditions, they will always feel a physical, psychological, interpersonal effects. Hence, this person becomes a little imbalanced. Why? Because the person whom they trusted so much is the person who has hurt them. Mental imbalance, you can say, or you can say it becomes a trauma in certain conditions or situations. For example, if there is a husband and wife and they're married for 2 or 3 or 4 years, after some time the wife discovers that the husband is having a relationship outside the marriage, she feels very devastated, and her only or sometimes if there is a small child in between, she has to do reconciliation here. So it becomes very tough. This is one of the simple examples I try to tell about husband. But you can understand how difficult situation it could be. A person whom you trusted so much could be the person who has hurt you in by doing an act which can be very devastating to you, or it can be like, making you to lose your homeostasis or balance in your life as such. So most of the time what happens is, let us forgive this person and go ahead. If it is a relationship between the boss and the employee, let us talk about it. Then you'll start saying, okay, it is like, my boss, I have to forgive him. Because if I don't forgive him, maybe we'll not be able to do work together. That we call it as a decisional commitment. You have to forgive your father, or father in particular, or maybe a brother, because what will the society tell you if you're not talking to them, or you are not able to go in front of them? Madam, please. Presentation. So during these circumstances, it is going to be a decisional forgiveness. And at times what happens is, whether you're trying to give an forgiveness is becomes a very difficult one. There are emotional forgivenesses like, your bitterness, your anger and revenge attitude, you have to reverse it back, or you have to try to show a lot of positive emotions like empathy or compassion towards this person who has hurt us as such. That is more or less like, when you say emotional forgiveness, it is an emotional change of yours. We have observed many relationships where a person must have forgiven a person using decisional forgiveness, but not emotional forgiveness. So, now the relationship has to continue. Let us be good with each other. They might continue it, no doubt. But when it comes to the emotions, still they might be having hatred. They may not be having love as such. And these are, when we try to talk about forgiveness, it is probably or 100% it is intra-individual pro-social change towards the transgressor. Why it is intra-individual? Because the man or the woman takes the decision whether I should forgive this person, and if I forgive this person, I have to do a lot of changes within myself, or the cognitive changes, emotional changes, and the behavioral changes has to be observed as such. Another point most of the students have been asking me, that is, when forgiveness affecting forgiveness, we did find that it depends on the attachment styles. Suppose if the person was transgressed or hurt you, what sort of attachment style those persons must be having? Because if the person is a very nice person, that I have to forgive, I have not done any mistake, they might start feeling. Or it could be an attributional style, whether they're attributing it to the situation, to the person, circumstances as such. Or it could even depend on beliefs and values. And the personality disposition or the personality variables also plays a very important role. So especially when we start talking about forgiveness, these are variables which invariably has to affect the outcome as such, please. So now when you are trying to talk about this forgiveness, you can be having forgiveness among yourself or with the stranger as such. Because a criminal person is an absolute committed a crime, or he has done something which has really made you to feel imbalanced as such. What happens during that particular time? Or it could be a non-valued relationship, that is the boss who's very much bossing over you, or your landlord who's troubling you most of the time. This is also becomes a non-valued relationships. Or in cases where the relationship is doomed also, that could be an estranged spouses who have to cut off the contact of the relationships and all. So in a particular period of time, or you can say in these three particular conditions, does forgiveness really work or not? So in all the background, what we decided was, can forgiveness be something which we can call it as having a power of forgiveness? What changes can it be done? So what we have done is, we have tried to run this particular research in our own laboratories. And interestingly, the work what we carried out was using this particular REACH, what you call it as REACH model given by Everett Worthington. The full form of REACH I've written there. R stands for recall the hurt more objectively or compassionately. E stands for empathize with the person who harmed you. A stands for altruistic gift of forgiveness. C stands to commit to the forgiveness you experienced. H stands for the instrument from the offender, that is benevolence. We can see there the second point is about benevolence. The third point is it says that there will be a conciliation and the goodwill for the offender, that is the person who has hurt the victim. These are all the changes that you can notice in the victim, not in the offender. So looking at this, we even thought about, let us try to assess this, whether there's going to be an emotional forgiveness or a decisional forgiveness. And when we tried to do this particular work, it was, before coming to the hypothesis, I would like to talk to you all about this particular situation and condition. In the university, we wanted to find, or we went in search of those students who had this particular experience of a hurtful incident, that is, which is still bothering them, or which is trying to create a negative feelings as anger, resentment, bitterness, hate, feelings of wanting to hurt the person back, anxiety, hostility, sleeplessness, and flashbacks. And then we put in another question, that is, what is the current level of unforgiveness that you're experiencing it? It is a little unforgiveness or an extreme amount of unforgiveness. And these people had to give a response of yes to a particular question that we had asked. That is, we asked them, are you ready to work on the memory of that hurtful experience in a group of other men and women with the idea of possibly forgiving the person? Or are you willing to discuss the hurtful experience within the group? See, dear audience, here what we wanted to find was, in a very close relationship, that is a boy and a girl, you can call them as a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or you can call them as husband and wife. Among those, if one of the person has hurt them, cheated them, then they would be, obviously, if this hurtful incident has taken place in them, and would they like to patch it up, or would they like to undergo this particular reach forgiveness model we asked them. So when they could fulfill these three conditions, then we took them for this particular work on forgiveness as such. And what we formulated, the hypothesis was, maybe over a period of time when we start giving them this particular treatment of forgiveness, that is reach forgiveness, they will be having a reduction in unforgiveness, and the emotional reactions will be probably positive, and they'll be having a high level of self-esteem. Now you must be wondering why we have taken this self-esteem into consideration. What happens in any of these relationships, or when a person gets transgressed, they always feel that maybe I'm not worthy of it, or I'm not having a high, the self-esteem gets really shaken up by this particular incident as such. And we wanted to even find out, like, what about the negative affectivity, the positive effect, or the negative effect as such, how it be. So keeping all this in the mind, we wanted to go for this particular research work. So you can notice here, what we have done is, you can notice the week. This particular work will be carried out, or can be carried out, for 5 weeks. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can notice that we have written reach. And that X bar, what you're seeing, X1, it means that in the first T1 and in control, we had two groups. One is those experimental condition and the control one as such. But here we didn't use the control in that particular term as such. We have tried to use that as wait list. I would like to explain here why we didn't go for that control and experimental situation or conditions. Because nowadays it is on a highly unethical to keep a control group for which we are not trying to give any sort of benefits as such. So they told us that you have to give benefit to them also. Keeping that in mind, we went for the wait list. So let us look here what happens. In the first week, both the groups, the one group and the second group, that is reach forgiveness treatment group as well as control, they will give their baseline, what you call it as results. That is, we are giving them the decision forgiveness, unforgiveness, as well as the emotional forgiveness questionnaire, as well as self-esteem, and the negative and the positive emotional expressions. When they try to give us this scores, then next what we have done, in the second week, we gave treatment to the first group. That is, we started our treatment of 6 hours trying to tell them or explain to them about what this reach forgiveness is, and we started with the treatment for them. And in the third week, again, we took the results of those people who have undergone this reach forgiveness. When we took the results, we gave a gap of, the fourth week was a gap for them, so that let them practice the forgiveness as such. And the fifth week, we call them back and try to take the reading for them. The third point, at the point 3 is the one where we are trying to compare them over T1 and T3 as such, that is before and after treatment. And for the control group, what we did was, in the first week, we took the readings from them. In the second week, we left them free. And the third week, we took the reading. And fourth week, we gave them the treatment. And the fifth week, we tried to compare with T1 and T3. For the earlier one, it was T1 and T3 that we are going to take, but the change is there in the week time. So the students whom we have taken were 124 students from Karnataka University, and these were those students who have undergone a transgression by one of those persons. That could be either the boy has cheated the girl or the girl has cheated the boy. Or in some extreme cases where we had was, the boy has left the girl and got married to somebody else, in spite of being in relationship for 5 or even in some cases years of relationship they were carrying. But one condition was there. When we asked the students, like, would you like to recall that particular event and then try to practice this, then only if that said yes, we were trying to include them. Otherwise, there were some other persons who have tried to leave our group and go off also. So finally, the number which came to for this particular study was 124 as such, but it was more than that when we had tried to recruit them. And this particular, what do you call it as method, what we try to use it, the steps are there. Remembering the hurt, that is, they are trying to recall the hurt. Then they have to do the E1, that is empathizing. A is the trying to show the altruistic gift of forgiveness. They have to do that. What you call revengeful or maybe non-benevolent type of emotions come, but still they have to show some commitment towards this forgiveness in particular. And they have to hold on to the forgiveness. They could not try to just throw it away or go it off as such. So we were trying to check it out whether they would take steps for emotional forgiveness. And overall, all the 5 steps are there in this particular book, or you can call it as the module. If any of you are willing to use this module for your future studies and all, please try to contact me so that I'll be able to give that whole booklet it is, where we have to do a lot of activities, and every minute and every hour there are activities, and it runs for 6 hours in particular. So you have to do a lot of a break also we need to take, and icing. And when you do this particular model, when you try to implement it, there will be one particular person whom we call it as the leader there, who will start initiating about what is forgiveness and how it starts off and all that details. That is definition you speak about. There'll be some activities that you have to perform, and all this is done with 7 to 8 people around you. That is, all the 7 to 8 people must have undergone this hurtful situation or conditions as such. And that leader will be coordinating, and there'll be a superior person or the main person who's then, you can call them as an experimenter or a professor, who will be there to help the super leader there. But as a researcher, I could not try to get directly involved because obviously those people would not be accepting an outsider. So we need to build up a rapport in order to enter that. So that's the reason we planted one of those student only as a leader who also had undergone this particular condition of being cheated by her own boyfriend as such. So the outcome measures what we have used here is unforgiveness, decisional forgiveness, emotional forgiveness, empathy, negative affectivity, positive and negative affect, as well as self-esteem. These are the materials which we have tried to use and assess them. And let us try to look at the results here. The results speak about how the things have changed over a period of time with the core measures of unforgiveness, decisional forgiveness, emotional forgiveness in both, that is immediate training as well as wait list. Wait list are the control group children. And further, we have done the comparison of the immediate training as well as the wait list comparison on over time, that is time 1, time 2, and time 3 as such. And overall, we did find a difference there as far as difference in the sense it talks about the effectivity or the effect of this reach forgiveness therapy, which we try to run to that particular group of 124 students. So from this studies, what we have understood the power of forgiveness was that the negative effect or the negative positive emotions increased, negative emotions decreased, and interestingly what we found was the spirituality also came into a function as such. So in the first study, what I spoke to you all, it was about a reach forgiveness therapy, which we used and we tried to find it. Now I would like to go for another study which we conducted. This is also a correlation as well as an experimental conditions. Here what we have done is we have tried to find, can that too, if you try to pray for just 3 minutes, can it try to make a difference to a person's or to the individuals? And here what we did was we tried to include people from 2 different cultural backgrounds. One is the American culture, which we call it as highly individualistic. And especially when a person is highly individualistic, when they try to forgive, they will try to think of it as their own self. But in a collectivistic country like India as such, when we talk about forgiveness, it is supposed to be more about social well-being. That is, you would like to forgive so that you'll be able to stay in a society as such. But in individualistic approach, it's very different. So we had to include this sort of variable also here. And what we have done over here, that is before trying to do our what you call it, establish our laboratory, we try to find, does forgiveness and prayer have a relationship, or how does it interact? We did find a lot of studies trying to say it does a lot of changes there. Okay, let us leave those studies. Let us come to this particular point. Why does prayer facilitate forgiveness as such? What we found was maybe the prayer promotes positive psychological states that in turns offer to boost forgiveness as such. That is, other positive psychological mechanisms such as optimism, purpose of meaning in life, self and other compassion, these all come into the play. And it creates a background, or you can say it makes the smooth transaction for a person who's feeling very unforgiving to become more forgiving, advanced or with the introduction of prayer as such. So let us talk about what is this prayer that we try to do it here. Okay, what we did over here was we took 2 group of students here, and the prayer which they had to say was just for 3 minutes. Okay, it was not that great number of minutes that we tried to ask them to pray. It was just for 3 minutes, and they had to pray for protection, you can say, or guidance, strength, or directions in the lives of their romantic partners. This was one of the conditions which we tried to put it there. And what the purpose of this particular present study was to find whether 3 minutes of prayer can make a difference, where a person will show a lower amount of retaliation, that is trying to seek revenge as such. And what we have done is we wanted to find, is there going to be a change? That is, we did assessment and analysis based on this 3-minute prayer. And the present design, what we did was like having a pre and post test measurements. And what we hypothesized was maybe there's going to be a change in the amount of retaliation expressed by the persons before and after as such. So we took around, the Americans recruited around 51 students, and we recruited around 100 students over here. You can see those change, the age which we are trying to mention here. And what are the scales that we are used? These all scales are with me, just in case somebody would like to replicate all the details. I would be able to share it with you all. We try to use this gratitude, religiosity, and forgiveness scales. And especially the forgiveness, we used Frank Finchamp's 3-item state forgiveness measure. It's a very small scale with 3 items, but it's really very effective. And a 6-item gratitude. And this is a pre and post. That is obviously when they came, we asked them to fill those forgiveness, gratitude, prayer frequency, and religiosity information. And both this in Indian laboratory as well as in American laboratory, what we did was we tried to put them into randomly we put them into that condition. That is, when the student came, we used to give one of the card. If they picked it as a prayer, we would do the prayer section. And if they would come in the control, they would come in the control as such. So let us see what is the prayer that we asked them to do it. What we did was we assigned to the prayer for partner condition. They were instructed to give to say 3-minute prayer for the well-being of their romantic partner. And this was the small prayer model which we gave, because the moment I say prayer, they will not be knowing how I should go about. So we gave this small instruction about how the prayer is. This is an example we provided. That is, dear God, thank you for all the things that are going well in my life and in my relationship. Please continue to protect and guide my partner, providing strength and direction every day. I know you are the source of all good things. Please bring those good things to my partner and make me a blessing in my partner's life. Amen. This story we told it. And remember, in India, we are having students who were coming from Christian community. Maybe for them this prayer was okay, or they were fine with that. But for Muslims and Hindus, we asked them, you can do the prayer coming in this particular format, suiting your particular religion. They all did that. And all the participants developed their own prayers based on the example, because they were coming from different religion as such. So interestingly, some of them spoke about the partner's general health or well-being. That was 84%. Some were talking about the guidance, 31%. Some were thanking for having got such a good partner. That was 14%. Some were asking for protection, then strength, peace, and courage for the partner or couple as such. Prayer showed no notable differences across culture as such when we try to work it out. And those people who were in the control condition, what they had to do was they had to speak into that particular recording machine, which we are giving them, the recorder, where they have to talk about the physical attribute of the romantic partner as if they were trying to talk to their parent. They're trying to describe their partner to their father or mother, like that they have to speak. That was the control condition. The explanation. Then upon when they completed these 2 conditions, then immediately they had to again answer for the forgiveness and the other demographical variables. So this is the outcome we got it for the prayer as well as control conditions as such. Here you can notice that there is a lot of difference as far as the prayer condition and as well as the physical description condition, or we call it as a control condition, is concerned. That is on the mean retaliation, that is the revenge attitude as such. So this particular research gives us an input trying to say that a brief prayer can also facilitate a forgiveness condition as such. It can try to make a person to reduce the retaliatory motives as such. So why does prayer work here? So obviously, when we pray, it is like, a cognitive and emotional mechanism is at work. That is, you're working for meaning, purpose, compassion, kindness, humility, love, and spirituality also can be evoked as such. So, what is the power of forgiveness, if you ask me? In study one, we found that we can increase decisional forgiveness, emotional forgiveness, empathy, reduce negative expressivity, increase positive emotions, reduce negative affect, and increase the self-esteem of a person. And with the previous sessions, what we conduct the experiment, we can talk about reduction, retaliation, and such. So when you ask me, like, what's the forgiveness, we can talk about the study one and study two. And these were the researchers with whom I've been closely working, that is Lauren Townsend as well as Worthington. And Phantom studies are not because that was all about a husband, wife, and a child transgression, what we try to work. And since I thought that it would be better to talk about two experimental conditions, I'll be opening up some sort of discussions over here. And if some of you would like to continue the same research or would like to have a different pattern of research also, I will be able to facilitate you all by sending the materials as well as the studies and whatever you all require as such. So these were some of my what we call this applications that I'm working out on forgiveness. We have ended up getting some 3 awards of from the government to run all this sort of studies in form of fundings. And finally, these were some of the outcomes of the studies, and some more are there, which is still in the pipeline as such, which I'll be sharing very shortly. So thank you. If you have any,
Thank you, sir.
yeah. Now I'm open for the discussion part. In case you have any questions, you can please.
Yes, sir. Please make your video on, sir, so that people can see.
Yeah. I think the video is not on. Yeah, now it's open.
Yes. Thank you for the wonderful presentation, sir. Actually, when you gave research works as your explanation, it just says the authenticity of the information. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Participants, you can raise your hand to ask questions. Also, you can chat in the. You can just text in the chat box.
Okay.
Tipu Sarkar is waiting.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Tipu Sarkar.
Okay.
You can just unmute yourself and ask the question.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Yes, good afternoon.
Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, you can go on with your question.
Yeah. So, sir, I want to ask that the topic really good, and the session you took, it was very like informative. So, sir, how can we relate this thing with yoga?
How can we relate it to?
Can we relate this forgiveness with yoga and yogic practices?
Yoga, how you are trying to relate forgiveness to yoga. Okay. As far as the knowledge of yoga is concerned, I think we are trying to talk about the cooling of the mind or trying to see a perspective in the right directions. And when a person is practicing yoga, it obviously tries to reduce that sort of emotional, physiological imbalance. And most of the time, when we are trying to forgive a person, we are emotionally aroused most of the times. So we have to be cool and calm as far as the physiology is concerned. Then calmly you can sit and try to think about whether we can try to implement it as such. And usually yoga practitioners have the physiological coolness or calmness in order to facilitate forgiveness as such.
Sorry, participants, please mute yourself. Hello.
Yes.
Yes, sir. I guess the question is answered well. Thank you, sir. The next question will be from Trishna. Trishna, unmute yourself to ask the question. Trishna
Yes.
Daria.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, Beta, please.
Yes. So, sir, we try to forgive someone who's maybe cheated on us or who's hurt us. But then at back of the mind, even after having a peaceful solve or resolving with that person, we end up having some grudges with the person. The only point is we keep our ego aside and we try to mend because the relationship is more important. But in such cases, how do we manage our own mental health?
Okay, very good question. Generally, when we are trying to forgive, it depends what the relationship we are trying to share with the other individual. For example, if the person is the one with whom we are going to continue our life for a longer duration of time, I think sitting across and talking to the person, because forgiveness is something which you are doing it for your own peace of mind. Actually, forgiveness is a gift you're giving it to yourself in order to reduce your hatred or to reduce your the turbulence that is taking place within your system as such. So when we start doing that, in case if you still continue feeling the hatred, if you still feel that I don't like this person, whenever he comes, I'm really feeling very unpeaceful and I'm feeling a lot of disturbances that is taking place, that we call it as pseudo forgiveness. That is called as a pseudo forgiveness. And we do try to tell a person that the pseudo forgiveness has to be removed. When you remove it, then only you'll be finding a peaceful interaction with the other individual. And second point I would like to make very clear is, when we forgive a person, we are not trying to give power for the person to cheat us again, to hurt us again. We have to be more vocal about the grounds on which we have forgiven that particular individual as such. Because most people think that we are weak enough to forgive a person. It's not that. You are emotionally strong and you want to continue that particular relationship to continue further. That's the reason you're doing it. There are some instances where the husband and wife will part the way as reconciliation. They'll say, we'll settle our account in the court, and they move off. So their forgiveness doesn't take place as such.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very true, sir. So true. Yes, the answer was so true. Thank you, sir. So
Yeah,
the next question is from Akshaya Krishnan. Please unmute yourself, Akshaya.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, please.
Sir, hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Sir, hello, sir.
Yeah, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, sir. Sir, I'm trying to forget my past happenings, but still now it is coming in my mind, and it is stopping my present things. So, what can I do for that, sir?
But I'm sharing my email ID. You can please write to me. I'll be sending the material which you can use it for 6 hours. It is self-healing. You go through all the exercises and you can get back to me after 6 weeks. I'll be definitely sharing all materials which I'll be sending to you so that you can experience it. I mean, self-help.
Hello.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Hello. Hello,
Yes,
sir.
Sujay, you can go with your question, Sujay.
Hello. Hello, sir.
Yes, I can hear you,
Yeah,
Sujay.
yeah, you can ask.
I am Sujay Chandra Vishwas calling from Bengal.
Okay, Sujay.
Hello.
Yes.
My first question is, the difference is mental health or between
Sorry, Sujay, you can even type the question if the voice is really breaking.
what is the difference between mental health or mental hygiene?
Can you repeat yourself, Sujay?
Hi, ma'am. My question is, what is mental health and mental hygiene?
Okay, he's asking the difference between mental health and
Health
mental
and
hygiene.
mental hygiene.
I don't think I covered it as such, but as mental health is concerned, I'm trying to anger, the rumination, digressions, and you can call it as anxieties also, which I'm trying to remove it by using this forgiveness therapy as such.
Okay, thank you, sir. Ma'am, if we have any question from Facebook or YouTube,
Yeah,
we can
yes,
go with
yeah,
it.
yeah, sure. From YouTube live chat, Ravi Borkar has asked, what about if we forgive all and these all do not forgive? What to do then?
Yes, a very good question. Because even we have this particular argument which even speaks about, are you that foolish enough to be fooled again by a person? It's not that. Actually, when we forgive, we don't forgive everybody and anybody. We only forgive those person who are really important in our life and with whom you would like to continue your journey of life as such. Because there are some strangers or there are some people who might come and hurt us and they become just a milestone in our learning experiences, and we say that I have learned through my experiences of being hurt by another individual and I'm not going to be foolish anymore and I will profit from this particular experience. So
Sure.
not forgive everybody, as I say, we cannot forgive. With some you have to settle the score. If they slap you have to slap them back. With some who really mean a lot and you think that it has to be continued, you have to continue. Because here I'm not trying to profess that give another cheek and get us slapped. I'm trying to say if they are slapped on the one, you have to withdraw yourself. Don't offer the other.
Okay, sir. Okay. And one more from Pramod Madisha.
Okay.
Why it seems very difficult to forgive others who is very close?
Yes, very good question. Because over a period of time, the commitment will be more. Because they are with you all the time, breathing in, breathing out with you in the same environment, you feel that they know you very well. And especially when these are the people who do the transgression or when they hurt, it is absolutely difficult for you to digest the very fact. First, you'll be in denial. Second, you'll be in a shock. Third, you'll be trying to do some reconciliation with these people. And finally, you will start feeling depressed with this particular event that took place in my life. And finally, you will like to move on. The fifth process of trying to move on, you will try to do it. But with the person who's just a hi-bye friend, if he hurts you, it doesn't matter much to you. Because the person who knows you inside out, how he could do it, that becomes. So more close you are, the transgression becomes very deep. And the revenge also becomes deep at times until unless we try to reduce it and try to move around it. Yeah, please.
Okay, sir. One more question from Venmati Srinivasan.
Yes, ma'am.
Despite forgiving, if the person refuses to change, should the forgiveness to be continued for that person?
Forgiveness is for our peace of mind. It is not for the other individual.
Others.
So it is like if we have to continue the person, because there are many cases where the people came and asked, should I forgive? For example, the husband every night he comes and beats his wife, and she was coming for the sessions to us. She was asking, should I forgive my husband or what? We said, in such events, are going to be a part and parcel of his peace and humiliation
Hello.
and physical problem also. You need not forgive that person. You have to just think about forgiving only for your peace of mind, but stay away.
Okay, sir. Thank you very
Hello,
much.
sir.
There are some other
Hello, sir.
questions. Yeah, yes.
Yes, I guess.
My next question is: a child is here on attending subject in the classroom. How this process or techniques for problem?
Sorry, Sujay, can you repeat the question? And also, we will have only
it's
one or
not
two questions
audible.
from the person. Okay. Yeah. Can you repeat the question, Sujay?
I repeat the question. A child is here on mathematics subject in the classroom.
Yeah, the voice
No, the voice is breaking. You can just chat in the chat box. You can just type the
You
question.
can type
so that I
the
can read it
question.
out.
Yeah, ask them to type the question, ma. And you can go to the next person then.
Okay, the next person, Omar Ferrati. Sorry if I pronounce the name wrong. Omar. Omar, please unmute yourself. Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
And it's really a nice and outstanding topic that you're talking about, and that we need very badly nowadays. Just, sir, concerning forgiving. Forgiving is a virtue that nobody can deny.
Yes.
And it's
Correct. The virtue.
Yes, the problem is that sometimes forgiving another one may lead to the other partner or the other person to go on and making more and more problems for you. Especially this is the core question. What about Sadiq people? the people who look for being forgiven, so as to start anew, transgression again. And this is what I'm actually experiencing in my life. Thank you, sir.
See, if the person with whom we are staying is having this narcissist personality traits, neurotic symptoms, as well as he's an habitual offender, I think the question of forgiveness never comes in such sort of personality variables as such. So in the first only, I was trying to tell you there are certain personality variables also which is really responsible for us whether to forgive these people or not. In such conditions, I think forgiveness will never work. We have to just show mercy and move on with our life. If forgiveness is not required, just show mercy and move on.
So, so what's the solution towards these people? What's the solution? Is it to deny them, to avoid them, to flee?
It's because what happens is when these people have this personality disposition of narcissism or narcissistic approaches or sadistic approaches, we can't change them, because even very recent researchers also try to tell us maybe up to 35 the personality variations will be there, they keep telling us. But when a personality is very confined in this person's of sadistic attitudes and behaviors, I think we have to let go the relationships, because there are many instances where forgiveness never works. This is one of the conditions where forgiveness will never work. I'm so sorry to say that, Omar, but
I do appreciate your answer. Thanks so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You are great.
Thank you.
Thank you. So due to time constraint, we will have 2 or 3 questions, and that is next presentation. So
okay.
It's Deepthi. You can unmute yourself and ask your question, Deepthi. Deepthi, are you there? We will go.
Deepthi.
Go for the next person, sir.
Mamta.
Mamta, you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
I think Sujay have asked already.
Yes, sir.
So I think you can go to the next person, Govinda Raja Krishnamurthy.
I think they have some issues unmuting themselves.
Maybe the next person, Govinda Raja Krishnamurthy.
Okay. Palvi, are you there? Okay. I guess there is some technical issues, sir. Anyway, thank you so much for the presentation, sir. I now request.
My pleasure. And Akshay Lakshmi as well as Sujamalini, madam.
Yeah.
If any of those students are asking for the materials, or if they're asking for books also, I'd be able to pass it on to them. You please share my email ID with them.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. Sujata Malini ma'am and Dr. Suresh Kumar sir to deliver the vote of thanks and also give feedback.
Suresh Kumar sir.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, you can
Thank
continue.
you, Akshay, for giving the opportunity. It's my privilege to propose vote of thanks to my professor who is close to my heart. Sir, one of the important topics in positive psychology is forgiveness, in which we have conducted a research. From that findings you presented today, that shows that you are the right person to talk about it. And
okay,
at the beginning also, what is not forgiveness? You classified excellently. Even I too thought that some of the points pardoning and some of the points were forgiving, but you classified, you mentioned very clearly those points are not forgiving. And there is a distinction between forgiving and other components.
Yes.
Amazing, sir. And the research findings also shows that the value of forgiving others. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the amazing presentation, sir. We will have a few more sessions with you in coming days. Thank you for accepting, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, participant. Thank you for your support.
Yes.
We will have the second session in another few minutes. Up to that, you can just here and there walk around for 5 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, I will play the Ilayaraja music. You can walk there and then come back. we will settle for the second presentation. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Hello. Hello. Yeah, சொல்லுங்க. 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 ஆமாங்க.
ஆயிரம் நிறங்கள் ஜாலமிடும் ராத்திரி வாசலி கோலமிடும் நிறங்கள் ஜாலமிடும் ராத்திரி வாசலில் கோலமிடும் வானம் தாளமிடும் பாடும் பறவைகள் தாளமிடும் மரங்கள் மரங்கள் பேசாத இது ஒரு பொன்மாலை மகள் ஓடுகிறாள் இது ஒரு பொன்மாலை பொழுது எனக்கொரு போதி மரம் நாடும் எனக்கது சேதி தரும் வானம் எனக்கொரு போதி மரம் நாடும் எனக்கது சேதி தரும் ஒரு நாள் உலகம் நீதி பெறும் திருநாளிகளும் தேதி வரும் உடை உங்குகிறாள் இருவர் மாலை பொழுது
Yes, I hope you. I think you have relaxed for a few minutes. Now the next resource person joined with us. Akshaya. Akshaya Lakshmi. Are you there? One minute. I will.
Sir?
Yes, ma'am. Akshaya, just unmute yourself.
Yes, sir.
இந்த ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணி விட்டுட்டு கூப்பிடுறேன் மேடம்.
Yeah. I think the next resource person is this. Akshaya, you can.
Yes, sir. Now I request Dr. Sujata Malini ma'am to give the welcome address and also introduce the speaker.
I will introduce.
Suresh Kumar sir, will you? Yes.
Yeah.
Welcome address by Dr. Sujata Malini ma'am.
So at the outset, it gives me immense pleasure to record my sincere welcome to Damanjit Sandhu, from Associate Professor of Psychology from Punjab University, for this international webinar on mental health and well-being COVID-19 pandemic situation. On behalf of the Department of Special Education, Alagappa University, Department of Psychology from American College, Madurai, wholeheartedly we welcome today's speaker for giving online safety, talk on online safety, which is a need of an hour, because right from the day onwards of lockdown period during this coronavirus attack, we are experiencing online classes, online meeting, virtual classroom, virtual exchange of thoughts and ideas. So in this context, we our students are engaged in collecting projects work related to their subject through online, and they are exploring internet and all the facilities which is available to them. So in this place, online safety is very important. So I'm so happy that we have covered under mental health and well-beingness online safety as one of the aspects. And I'm so happy a well-renowned speaker from Punjab University is with us, and she'll be going to explain the various tips that the participants are awaiting for that. So I wholeheartedly welcome today's speaker for this international webinar on mental health and wellness during COVID-19 19 pandemic situation. So I request Suresh Kumar to introduce the speaker and tell about her. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Sujata Malini is principal of B.Ed College and head of the Department of Special Education and Department of Psychology, Alagappa University. I'm happy to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Damanjit Sandhu. See, there is one theory in psychology, classical conditioning theory. See, that natural stimulus and then artificial stimulus. Okay, I'm artificial one. I attended few of sessions of Damanjit Sandhu ma'am. Now they are calling me to speak about online safety in some of the colleges. So then you got to understand that how extended the madam has a knowledge about online safety. Cyberbullying is an amazing area. And she has conducted many researches and collaboration with many universities around the globe. And one of the plus point about madam is whenever we approach, ma'am, we are having the webinar, immediately, okay, when I have to come. See, that is the eagerness, a person who accepted. So for that, I record my sincere gratitude, ma'am. Amazing my life. And today with us, we are going to share about online safety. As Sujata Malini madam said, it is one of the important components. It is the biggest cause for today's mental health problems, and how we can address those causes and how we can tackle that component. Ma'am is going to share her knowledge and experiences based on her research experiences. Ma'am, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone, all the participants. My warmest regards to American College Madurai and Algappa University. And I hope all of you are doing well and staying safe. Thank you for hosting me today. And I'm very thankful to Dr. Suresh for introducing me to my colleagues down south. And sir, I'm very happy that my work is being it's inspiring people. That's what we are here all for. And it's about collectivistic learning, and we are learning a lot from each other. Likewise, you are also igniting many minds, and every day I get so many new research ideas, and it adds to my knowledge through the webinars you are hosting. My best wishes to all of you here. And as ma'am has rightly said that online safety is the need of the hour. So we're going to talk about that. Specifically, this relates to children and adolescents. Adolescents, as we all familiar, largely the teenage age group, although WHO has said that 10 onwards, and the upper limit for the adolescents, it goes up still higher depending upon what perspective you take. Like sociologists, they are talking about extended adolescence, like all the boomerang kids. They are no doubt grown up. They are into early adulthood years, but they have not switched on to the developmental tasks of adulthood, like whatever we call being an adult, family, marriage, work. So they are the boomerang kids. They are still enjoying their parental money, parental households, and they are dependent upon their parents. And even if they are earning money, they are using that money just for their own fun, frolic, entertainment, and parties and fashion. So in a way, they're also adolescents. So my discussion today would be for children and adolescents. And as you know that all the teaching and all learning and all socializing and even celebrating birthday parties has shifted to the online mode. All that we had been warning our kids against, that don't go on internet, stay away from technology. So we are now just doing opposite to that. We are encouraging all that we had been advocating against. In a typical household, all the gadgets, parents were very particular that this is the screen time set for the children. We don't allow mobile phones during the night time, and every family had certain restrictions and curfews. But now all of them, they have gone haywire, and all the life is on technology. So with technology, with the right use of technology is a big challenge, because this situation is a very unprepared for situation, because we were not prepared for it. We were not prepared for it. The teachers were not prepared for it. We had never thought that all our teaching would shift to online mode. So leave aside parents, leave aside teachers, even the parents. I think most of the children in India, they are having parents who are the first, the parents have never used technology. They are not familiar with the right usage of technology. So children do not have enough information how to be safe on the internet, because a lot of threats are going on there. And if we see the statistics for cyber crime, just yesterday I was reading that one cyber crime is reported in every 10 minutes in India. So it could be a number of things. It can be varied. It could be stalking, it could be bullying, it could be financial frauds, it could be hacking. So many types of cyber crimes, they are rampant. And all these people with a criminal mindset, they have now shifted to the online mode, because they will not find the predators, they will not find their prey, the target people on the streets, especially the children. The vulnerable children are now not on the streets, so they have to look out for such people who are sitting in the home. So sitting at their own homes, they are finding out ways how to rob people, how to cheat people, or how to get their way done. So we have to be very careful, because it entails a lot of psychosocial issues. Crime against children through the internet has a lot of mental health dimensions. And most of the children in India, they are the youngsters, and they are largely, as the data has suggested, that 2 in 3 internet users are between the age of 12 and 29 years of age. And India is a very young country. We have 50% of the population below the age of 25. And this is again coinciding with another very typical threatening situation, where we all know that most of the mental health conditions, 50% of the mental health problems, they start emerging by the age of 14. So all those people who tomorrow are going to have a mental health problem, 50% will show up some mental health issue by the age of 14, and 75% will have the first mental health symptoms by the age of 18. And most of the children, they are now the netizens. So that is the term we use, the citizens of the internet, the citizens of the space, cyberspace. So we have to understand their world, because along with other threats, earlier we used to say that other threats like domestic violence, the child abuse, and having bad peer influences, they were the risk factors in child and adolescent development. But now a major risk factor to the child and adolescent mental health has been the online challenges, especially related to school bullying, which has now taken the shape of cyberbullying, then online grooming, which I'll be talking about in my coming slides. So with the technology, a lot of information is available. We're using technology for getting knowledge, for increasing our social interactions, but at the same time, technology is a risk and harm for some. And this is the place where, as psychologists, we need to get into and help our children and our youngsters redefine their relationship with technology. Because if we see how children and adolescents, they are handling technology, it is more like a digital umbilical cord. That's what we say. There's a digital umbilical cord between the child's phone and between the child. So it's very difficult to cut that digital umbilical cord, because a lot of emotional issues are being involved in that process. And you must have seen many cases where in your own family or in your extended family, or you must have seen as psychologists a number of complaints where parents say that the moment we take the phone from the child becomes very cranky, irritable, he becomes aggressive. And especially because of so much of video game addiction, the internet gaming addiction, where not only the children are hooked to technology, they are falling into the the viciousness of game addiction. But at the same time, there's a lot of bullying also, which is taking place through the internet games. And children are so much immersed in the digital world because of social networking, because of these gaming sites like PUBG, then Call of Duty, then many other games, Ludo. Not only children, the young adults. We have so many, I have so many friends, so many colleagues who are now getting into the trap of game addiction, but nobody's talking about that. So that is another very big factor where we need to focus our attention on, because so much of gaming has entered our houses, but there is no attention of the bodies, the associations which rule us or which govern us. No doubt WHO in 2018, it has said that internet gaming addiction is it's problematic. It's a mental health threat. But American Psychiatric Association is still quiet about it. They have not declared it as an addiction. There are a number of reasons for that. And there's a lot of lobbying by the video game industry as well. It's $1 billion industry, around $275 billion involved in it. So these people would probably never want that gaming should be declared an addiction, because it will be a stigma, and then all the world organizations will have to propagate against gaming. Just like on every cigarette pack, there's a warning and there's a picture of a person suffering from cancer. So I think we as psychologists, we know the reality. We know that what our attention, where our attention should be. So it is our responsibility to handle all these things on our own, and let's not rely upon the major world bodies, because they are doing their little bit, but we know our environment, we know our ecosystems, and I'm sure most of you will agree with me that we all have so many children around us who are hooked to technology, and it is so difficult to take them away from the digital world. So so there are a number of threats available to the children in the cyber world. So first is there are a lot of online predators, all the people who are pedophiles or who have some personality disorders. So they are now on the lookout for children who are vulnerable, who can be their next target, and they start grooming the children. They start approaching the children, and they start getting into a conversation with the children, and slowly that emotional conversation where they validate the child's feelings, that slowly translates into a sexual conversation. And through this sexual conversation, they go on to a different level where they start soliciting or grooming a child for sexual activities, either online or in the real world. So once the child refuses to be a part of it, they start blackmailing the children. And there have been so many cases all over the world where the children have been asked to get into contactless sex. So this is a term which is being used these days. A lot of contactless sex is happening online, especially during this lockdown period. All the youngsters, I've been reading a few reports that all our warnings have gone haywire. We've been telling children, the students, youngsters not to get into anything like this online. But during the lockdown period, because youngsters had been alone and they had no sex partner, a lot of online sex has been going on, and people have become totally random and totally indiscreet about what they're doing. So these kind of people, they have certain psychological attractions towards the children, and they try to get into the child's life sexually. And once the child does not give in to their demands, they start blackmailing them that either they would leak their chats, they would leak their conversations, or they would leak their personal photographs, or whatever information the children have already shared with them, so that they will leak to the parents or to the teachers. So children have there have been cases where children have committed suicide, or they have gone into depression because of these threats. And there have been cases also where children have been forced either to pay through sextortion. So that is the terminology we use. Like, just like extortion is like asking for a money, for a ransom, that okay, you give me 10,000 rupees, so that will be extortion. But when you have to pay through sexual services, the term which is used is sextortion. So either that is they have to pay through sextortion, or they are compelled to give the credit card numbers, the CVV numbers of the parents. So this is one big online threat to the children, because we know that there is a lot of child sexual abuse going on in the world. The world statistics, they are suggesting that even boys are not safe. In the real world, 1 in 4 boys have experienced sex abuse. And almost every single woman in the world, she has experienced milder or moderate or severe form of sexual abuse while growing up. So now all this will be shifted to the online mode. So this is one area which we need to work on for research, for policy, for creating information, and for reaching out to the masses. So, and in that too, in their own language. So as psychologists, we have a number of issues related to online safety of children when it comes to the online predators. And I think the biggest responsibility for us today is to create awareness about cyber safety for the parents, for the children, for the local population in their local language. And this is what I have been doing here in Punjab. And I think that all should, we are all psychologists and or social scientists, so as it's our responsibility. Let's not rely on some government's initiatives or some APA initiatives to tell us to work in it. So as my own personal responsibility or as a service to my own subject, I keep preparing small videos in Punjabi language, and I keep sharing it on Facebook or on other social media pages, where I keep educating children, especially in the far-flung areas, in the rural areas, about cyber safety, how to keep themselves safe, how not to get into any conversation with strangers, because it is very important. The children should know they are very vulnerable. Children start trusting others very easily, and there is in adolescence, as we all know, children have adolescents, they have a heightened sense of personal fable. They think that probably they cannot be wrong, nothing wrong can happen to them. Bad things can happen to others but not to them, because they think that in a typical, for example, a typical adolescent will think that a road accident can happen to others, not to me. Rape can happen to others, not to me. So these children, they are very emotional, they have issues with their parents, with their friends, and they just get carried away when they see somebody giving them so much of attention online, and they fall into a trap and start sharing, and they somehow they get so far into that sharing, because the person who the pedophile, that person who is basically there to harm the children, they create such a web of words around the children. They are charmers, and children, they fall into that net. And children basically don't know, because everything is behind the screen. They think probably they are talking to a friend who is maybe 2 or 3 years older than him or her, a person who is so sincere to them, who understands them like nobody else understands. And children have never they have never been informed, because on the internet, as it is said, behind the screen, a meek lamb becomes a big bad wolf. So who knows who is there typing, who is there interacting with you, who is there sending you a friend request. So all these issues need to be talked to the children, because children, they need to be protected, and they need to be educated about online safety. So second issue, which I think which is very important when it comes to online safety, is the issue of cyber perversion, because we've seen children recently. I in my last presentation also, I gave an example of the incident of boys' locker room, and I think most of us must be familiar with what happened in a Delhi school. A group of 14, 15, 16 years old boys, they had created an Instagram group where they would discuss women's bodies, the girls' body, not even women's, the girls, their own peers, 15-year-old girls, 16-year-old girls, and they would crack jokes and shame the girls and talk about her anatomy, and even discuss how to gang rape those girls. So a lot of furore has been, a lot of attention has been garnered by this issue under the term of cyber perversion, that what kind of kids are we raising? What are the value systems we are giving to the children? So because children are just vomiting out everything what they're acquiring, what they're learning from us. So as psychologists, as social scientists, or even as parents or as stakeholders in children's development, what kind of children are we grooming, and what is their online behavior? So whatever they're learning in real life, they are pouring it out in the on the social media, on the internet, without understanding that this can be criminal, this is illegal, and this can create problems for them forever throughout their lives. Tomorrow when they go for admission to some good universities, or tomorrow when they go to some embassies for a visa, or for when any employer is going to recruit them. So all these things will come in the way, and not just about the moral ethical emphasis. We also have to educate them about that once something is posted on the internet, it will always be there by something called digital footprinting. So once you post it, it will be there, and the cyber experts can retrieve it. So this kind of information has also to reach to the children, that we have to be responsible netizens. There has to be netiquettes, what we call netiquettes, the etiquettes of using the internet, of posting the right and the content which has to go online has to be something which is thoughtful, which is kind, which is considerate, and which does not mean any offensive to any gender, any caste, any particular religion, or any segment of society. So because this can this just not only reflects our moral ethical the side of us, but also it can create troubles for them. They can get in conflict with the law. And so it is our duty again to talk about the issues of online safety with the children, for their holistic health, for their well-being, so that tomorrow they do not get into any conflict with the law, and we don't need to put our children into any situation where the police is investigating them. So here, as cyber psychologists or as psychologists, our duty is not just to create awareness about information about such things, but also about what is the role of different people in different groups. So a lot of research is happening where we're studying what are the various roles of different people involved in different groups. So I'm just giving you an example of this boys' locker room situation, where some of the children, when they were investigated, they said, we have no fault. We were just there in the group. We never did anything. We never wrote anything. So, but again, there is a dilemma. So this is where the psychologists have to create awareness about the children and tell them very logically about what was their role and what was their responsibility, or what they should have done in such a situation where they see people posting rude, insulting, unkind things about others, or talking about things which are very demeaning to a particular sex. So what is your role there, and what should have been your responsibility at that particular moment? Because a lot of research is now happening in the role of cyber bystanders. So again, this is an important area of research. If somebody is working in the area of cyber bullying and all, a lot of things can change if the people who are witnessing, just like in a bullying situation, or in any typical situation. For example, we all are familiar with the case of a typical case in social psychology, the Kitty's murder case. So there were bystanders, and we have everybody has read about it. And I think that was the first topic we were taught in a social psychology class, that what was the role of the bystanders. So similarly here, in a cyberbullying situation or on the internet, the other people who are witnessing all this happening in the online world, they also have a big role to play. There's a responsibility on them to stand up, to protect the right or to protect the dignity of the person who is being bullied or who is being insulted, to be a hero and take appropriate action on it. So all these things have to be researched in the Indian context, that why children enter such groups. So this is a research question, that why do they need to belong there? What kind of what stops them from reacting? What stops them from not raising a voice? Or what stops them from quitting that group? And how can we spread this awareness to children, that how they don't have to be part of such groups where they don't belong to, or once they are in a group. And I think it is not just for us. It is for all of us, because the issues of online safety is actually relevant to all women or everybody. Most of us, we have seen somebody being trolled on the internet, and we have seen even these political parties, they have their IT cells where they have given death threats, rape threats to women, women journalists, women activists. And so we all have certain responsibility as bystanders there to make sure that nobody is disrespected and people, they maintain their dignity. And the person who's being victimized, we are there to stand for that person. So this is where one place where the role of psychologists is there, to create an environment, to create a culture where technology is being used to come to the support of people, to help others, to comfort others in distress, and not add fuel to the fire. Just yesterday in Punjab, I just although our topic is on children and adolescents, but I just want to give you a reference where I just yesterday there been a case of a couple, a Punjabi singer who's there was his wife accused him of cheating, and this bad marriage issue, it spread in the total media. All the regional news channels were talking about this marriage gone wrong, and people started trolling, people started writing comments, and there was a big media trial, a social media trial of a bad marriage. So this is like, I then wrote an article on social media and it got published also, that what is our duty? Why are we so have we finished every other task which is important to us? Have we done everything else which is more relevant to our timings, or all our important things of life are finished and settled and sorted, that we are now peeping into the bedrooms of other people and we are giving our judgments? As cyber citizens, it is our moral duty. First of all, it is the moral duty of the people not to wash their dirty linens in public. Then once even they have washed, it has to end somewhere. As cyber citizens, how far can we go to bully somebody, to troll somebody? Because in the end, I saw that singer, that Punjabi singer, he was literally begging people that please leave us alone. We can handle our marriage ourselves. Don't bully us further. Don't trouble us further. And he was getting depressed and he was literally in tears. So as cyber citizens, there's a lot of responsibility on us, because this can happen with anybody. If we let this culture of having people's personal life being spilled on the social media, if we let this culture begin, or if we let it propagate, anybody can be affected. If today they are being affected, tomorrow it could be me, it could be anybody else. Because they say if your neighbor's house is on fire, then it could be yours, the next one. So this kind of culture has to be created. I think at our own regional levels, we all need to be cyber watchdogs, where we do not encourage this kind of reporting by the news channels, and we do not encourage people. We actually put a snub on the people's attempts to get entertained by the personal lives of people who have due to some reason, if their personal lives have come on the social media. So we have to put a full stop somewhere and make sure that person does not suffer more. So I always say that how many times can you kill a dead man? So many girls in India, all over the world, they have been harmed by their ex-boyfriends once they broke up. Because in a typical Indian setting, especially in northern India, in the Punjab, it's usually the mindset is that a woman cannot end a relationship until and unless the man allows her. And there have been so many cases of revenge porn, where when the girl decided that she does not want to stay in an abusive relationship, or she wants to end that dating relationship and probably get married to some other guy, the boy has leaked her personal photographs, personal videos, and the poor girl, she had no other option but to end her own life. Just few months back, there was a case where a girl ended her life, and many girls have ended their lives because of being blackmailed on the social media, or being bullied on the social media, by being trolled on the social media because of something called revenge porn, where their ex-boyfriends, they leak out their personal videos and all their intimate moments to the public. So so this is another place where, as psychologists, we need to jump into. So first thing is that we need to bring a kind of an atmosphere. We need to create a culture where children, our youngsters, they trust us, they share with us whatever they are going through. If they are being victims in the cyber world, they have the confidence to at least come and talk to us as parents, as teachers, as psychology teachers of their colleges, of their universities, as counselors. They should have some faith that, and we have to encourage this. We have to start talking about this in our institutions, maybe through placards or through videos or through notice boards and all, where we tell them that if you're going through some issue related to cyberbullying, or somebody's trying to troll you, or somebody's trying to harass you, or somebody's stalking you, then we are here to help you, and you can trust in us. We are going to be instrumental in helping you come out of it and not be judgmental. So that is another area where we have to talk about it, because usually children, once they have gone through this, they feel so embarrassed, so ashamed, and the society does not give them a second chance. So related to the cyber world, we have to work on this mindset that failures can happen. Anybody can fail. Just like we can fail academically, we can fail in relationships too, right? And in case some girls' photographs have been leaked, or some videos have gone viral, so it is just like sometimes we meet accidents without our fault. So similarly, we can meet many wrong people on the way, but our work is not to judge them, but to provide support to the people who have been victims of cyber abuse, cyber bullying, cyber trolling, or revenge porn. We as a culture, we as citizens are there to help our children, because today it might happen to them, but tomorrow it can happen to any of us. As I always say, that I have seen women being blackmailed by their ex-husbands when they went through a divorce, and not just within the matrimonial situation. Anybody can be. I have seen women getting depressed. Like some 2 years back, there was a case of leak trial room videos, because there were secret cameras in a very reputed mall of Chandigarh, where the store managers, they had kept the cameras in the trial rooms, and it was around 5-6 women's videos. They were leaked while they were changing the clothes. So these things can happen to anybody, but as psychologists, we have to create an environment where we encourage our children that they are free to talk to us, and we will find a solution, and we will not judge them. Because usually what happens is, when a young girl goes to the parents and tells that she's being stalked by a boy, or some man is troubling her, so the very first response is to to put the blame on the girl only, and to take her mobile away, or say that you will not use social media, you will not use internet now. So children have these kind of fears, and there have been cases where the parents they took the law in their hands, and they just straight away went to the boy's home and started beating the boy black and blue. And there have been cases where even parents went to the school authorities and asked them to intervene, but the schools, they said, this is happening in your home households, because the child is using the computer at your home, so this has got nothing to do with us. So now, as psychologists, we need to have the SOPs in our own institutions, that when such cases of cyber deviance, or whenever such cases of cyber bullying or cyber stalking come, how do we have to handle it? how do we have to go about it, and how do we have to create such a situation that we find the best possible solution. So these are some of the responsibilities on us when it comes to the online safety of children and adolescents. And the next thing which I always talk about it, and where I have worked a lot for more than now 10 years, is the area of cyberbullying, especially within the educational context. So what has happened now is that because schools are closed now, and even before, when the schools were open, the traditional bullying or the face-to-face bullying, bullying which we have experienced as children or as students in our lives, where a typical big bad boy would eat our lunch boxes or slap kids randomly or take away their money or throw away their cycles. That was the typical traditional bullying situation or the face-to-face bullying situation. Now a lot of bullying is happening through online mode. It is not necessary that the boy or the girl who is big in size or big in socioeconomic status or superior to others in terms of many attributes will trouble others. Any person can harm anyone, and they can use technology to trouble someone, to target someone, tease someone, threaten someone, or to create any problems which can affect the mental health of a person. And sometimes it leads to such horrific situations where there have been cases where the online bullying has spread to the real life bullying, or the real life bullying has spread to the online bullying. Like, for example, if a boy, two boys, they had a fight in the canteen. So when they go home, they usually, otherwise earlier what happened when the school was over, the child could go to a bully free environment where at least he would feel safe, that okay, fine, things are okay now for at least for the next 12 hours. And tomorrow when I go back to the school, I would face that boy again, with whom I had a brawl yesterday or today. But now the child is never in a bully-free environment. The moment the child goes home, he opens his Facebook or Snapchat or any other social networking platform. There are already hate messages or threats, or people teasing him, people just laughing at him, or any insult or any rude comment already written about that incident. So the child is never in a bully free situation, and it then snowballs into something greater, because it is so easy to keep on writing something out of anger and posting on the social media, and we tend to continue this thing. This usually exaggerates into something more serious, because we are not seeing the body language of our target. We cannot see the social cues, we cannot empathize with the person, and we just, whatever comes to our mind randomly in anger, in aggression, we just, with the press of a button, we post it, and that devastates the person totally. And now this is something called, we call it the cockpit effect. Once you are on a computer, it's very easy to trouble others, because you don't you cannot see that person's pain on the face. There is lack of social cues. You cannot see the person is in tears, or he's like asking to be left on his own. It happens in a typical war-like situation. There was a study where they found that the fighter pilots, they did not have so much of PTSD as compared to the veterans who had fought the war, because the fighter pilots would just keep bombarding the ground with the bombs, and because they could not see the pain of the people, so they would just keep throwing bombs from a distance, and they would sometimes do it more than what was required. So this happens in the online situation also. So when these children, they start fighting on the internet through the technology, they usually aggravate it to such levels. There have been cases where the fight on the college canteen or on the school canteen, that translated into online fight when the children went home. The next day, usually, and I'm sure if you have worked with children in schools, because I do a lot of sessions with school children, and every principal has shared that children after school, they call their super peers, the boys who are older, their friends who are older than them in age, and who are like little more, they are like a more risk takers, and they are like a gang, and then they would enter into a physical fight after the school time is over. So there's a lot of dare game going on, lot of challenge to each other. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow, I'll fix you tomorrow, you see me after the school hours. So this is how it again spreads to a bigger and a violent form of school peer violence after the school hours. And there have been cases, especially in the West, where children, they next day they went to the school with a gun and they opened fire on their on the person who was bullying them. So this is what we call the cyber bully side. A lot of school shootings are happening in US because of this online bullying. Whenever the victims, they thought that they cannot take it anymore, so they take a gun and open fire on the children who have been bullying them. But in the last couple of months, since this lockdown has started, it's the first time that US has seen a dip in the school shootouts. So school shootouts are a big issue in the North American society, especially in USA, and much of it is related to school bullying and peer abuse and lack of healthy relationships between peers, and online risk-taking and online threats and cyberbullying plays a big role in these school shootouts. Next, which I would talk about, is the game addiction. And there's another, this actually a big threat to children, and I've already covered something about that earlier. As I told you about the video games, we all have children at home, and all the time they are hooked on to the games. But we, I mean, as psychologists, or even as parents, or as uncles and aunts, we have seen so many complaints where people try to talk about their children's excessive game, and they want to know what is the right amount of gaming which the children should be allowed to play, and what are the warning signs. So as psychologists, and as I said earlier, even APA is saying that before we declare online gaming to be an addiction, excessive gaming to be an addiction, they want that more and more people should research on it. I have already supervised a PhD degree on video game addiction, where I studied it in context to the problem behavior and the family dynamics, especially what kind of family relationships these children have. And it was found that usually the couples where there's a lot of interparental conflict, and these kind of children, they play a lot of these video games, and they are the ones who become addicts. And as the statistics show, the chances are that 1 to 10% of children, they are getting into online gaming addiction. Whereas in the lockdown period, such incidents have spiked. And just few days back, I was reading a research by one of our psychology colleagues in Nottingham Trent University, where our colleague had reported that there have been 25% of the people, they are getting into online gaming addiction. So 25 people in 100, those who are playing games, they are getting immersed in this world of technology, and they are getting lost, and they are neglecting their health, their priorities, their daily routines. And once they are away from the internet, they feel very cranky, irritable, and they feel good only when they are with the games or with their playing. And there have been a lot of research, there needs to be a lot of research into what kind of children, what kind of people become gaming addicts, or what kind of people they play excessive these video games, and a lot of research has spoken about personality, the people who are lonely, or the people who don't have any meaningful achievements in real life, or do not have any meaningful challenges in the real world. So crossing that next level or going to that next target, that gives them a sense of high, that gives them a sense of achievement. And people who are lonely in the real life, who are not accepted, they feel a sense of acceptance, because all of us, we want to belong somewhere. There's a big human need. The human need is to be connected, but it is important that we are connected to the right kind of people who are there to give us a right direction. Children at this age, they're very supple, and they are usually, they find validation and acceptance in a group of people who are themselves deviated from the mainstream. They are not the mainstream people. They don't live in the mainstream. People who have their priorities is just video games, and they are playing for 9 to 10 hours video games every day. And most of these people, they have red eyes, they have tired eyes, and they have that muscular issues because of repetitive muscle usage. So we cannot allow our children to be a part of such group where they're wasting their time and neglecting their academics, neglecting their social relationships, neglecting their health. So this is one big issue where we need to research, where we need to bring awareness about, and we need to talk to the masses. So I think this is our big duty during the lockdown period, because I think the parents themselves are to be blamed, because parents usually don't have time for children. And these mobile phones, they are being used by parents as babysitters, that, okay, you please carry on with your stuff. Don't trouble me, because I am myself very tired. Just keep playing with this thing. But we need to, because I've always believed that we need to work on a public health approach through a public health perspective. Public health perspective should always be there, dominant on our minds, that whatever area we are researching on, whatever area interests us or we've been passionate about, we must bring that awareness to the masses. We must create resources where we educate people about how to handle the kids, how to keep their children safe, and how to keep their children healthy, active, and be a part of the mainstream world, and not just get into an alienated, isolated world of a virtual world of web, which will not take them anywhere in terms of their career, in terms of their life goals. So as cyber psychologists, it's our duty not just to investigate into the bad effects or the ill effects of media or how it is affecting their mental health, but also to guide our children how to keep a balance between the real life and the virtual life. Right. So the next threat which I want to talk about is the cyber porn addiction, because this has gotten my attention, and I've already supervised one MPhil on cyber porn addiction, and another PhD degree is going on. I have a student here who just enrolled for a study related to cyber porn addiction in youngsters. And in the lockdown period, there have been 95% increase in the traffic to these porn sites. And we all know why children do it. The first thing is that we are depriving our children about a good, decent conversation about sex education, their bodies, their relationships with the opposite sex, which is totally lacking in our societies, because we are too embarrassed to talk about it. We don't have the right words. We don't have the right resources in the local languages. So this is one area which we need to work upon and educate our educational institutions about about how important it is to talk about sex education to the children, because if we don't guide them, if we don't deliver this to them, they will be misinformed, they will be ill-informed, and their knowledge about sexual relationships, about opposite sex, that will be totally polluted, where they would just objectify the objects, the opposite sex, as a means to gratify their sexual desire and nothing more. So we need to start a conversation. We need to create a dialogue and shed our taboos and inhibitions about not talking about sex, about safe sex, about risk-taking behaviors, about being healthy, and how to and especially about the meaning of the term consent, because it's very important that we start talking about consent to our children. That and we all have seen incidents where juveniles have been involved in sex crimes. In the Nirbhaya rape case, there was one juvenile, and even in this case where a girl was gang raped in near Hyderabad, I think there was another juvenile. So we need to talk about children about that, how meaningless these porn sites are, and how they are minting money at the cost of our mental health, and how children should replace real life activities to not to get addicted to these porn sites. I have been getting so many complaints from a number of people here, where they've complained about their somebody they knew. I don't know, maybe it was their own case, because it's always, nobody will say that I am addicted to online these cyber porn sites. I always get these complaints on my messenger box that I know a friend who is addicted to these things, addicted to the cyber porn sites, and they just want to get out of it, but they just can't. So we have to find out ways, we have to find out strategies which deviate our children, and find out what can replace these cyber porn sites, what kind of activities we can introduce in the life of our teenagers, keep them engaged, keep them meaningfully occupied, or give them a challenge in their educational institutions, or give them some hobby, some recreation, some competition where they can be busy and stay away from all this crap which is happening online, right? So the next one, which I very important thing which is going on, is the financial. Our children are becoming a lot of there have been cases where children are becoming victims to financial frauds and to hacking, where children, the young children, now they're getting so many emails, and in the coming times, a lot of other people would get our data about our children, because in the name of these online classes, we have logged on to many platforms. Children have used Zoom for classroom teaching, they have used Microsoft Teams, they have used Google Classrooms, and many other learning platforms or learning technology. So the data of our children has gone to many people, and probably there'll be so many people who know that yes, there's a kid down there, there's a kid out there of this age in a school. So these people, they're very smart, the hackers, the cyber criminals, they know that children, they get attracted to mails like, you have won an iPad, you have won a free t-shirt, or you have won a trip to Goa, or you have gained a position in Kaun Banega Crorepati. So they send very persuasive, very attractive emails to children, and our children, out of curiosity, they click on these emails and they download certain links, and through these downloading, we give the access sometimes to our front camera, or sometimes we allow screen sharing, and our children, they don't know that their laptop or their phone has already been hacked, or they are being watched by a predator, and their entire life is under a surveillance. Or whenever their parents are typing the password of their banking, through screen sharing, a third party is seeing whatever is happening on the parent screen, and within few minutes, all the parents' money is getting lost. And not just that, our children, they are sometimes they are downloading certain apps. Like it happened with my own boy. He wanted to get fit and he downloaded an app, and just out of curiosity, and suddenly without understanding what the thing is, he just downloaded it, and later on I found out that 1,999 rupees had been deducted from my credit bank. And this my little kid was afraid even of telling me that this has happened. So only when I got a message from my bank, I got to know that this money has been deducted. So children, they need to be taught. So this is like I was telling him that I am a cyber psychologist, but my own house could not be saved from such things where probably I failed. I had not told my children to read the privacy policy, the terms and conditions, all the, before downloading anything, you have to talk to the adults. So I think we have somewhere, we all falter somewhere, but these kind of issues need to be talked to children. So this is something which happened in my own life. So children have to be informed, they have to be made aware about of all the threats, of all the vulnerabilities, of all the risks that are happening online, and how they need to be safe. So this was something, this is, of course, there's a lot of research, a lot of publications which I have done in these areas. And the major one is a book which was published by Cambridge University Press, London, and where we have published our research, which was based upon Indian European Research Networking Program on school safety, cyberbullying, and school bullying, and where there were participants from around 7-8 countries. And it was India's first multilateral agreement in social sciences. So I can give you the reference of that. And many of research work has been published, which actually attracts our attention that we need to focus on this very important aspect of our children, because our children, they are now spending a lot of time with technology, but we need to create spaces where they feel free to talk to us about what they're doing, how they, and we need to create a conversation and initiate a dialogue with them, how to be safe online, and how to navigate the digital world very responsibly, and how to conduct themselves on the internet. So we can probably, I can take some questions now.
Yes. Thank you for the wonderful presentation, ma'am. It was a very sensitive topic also, so you handled it very well, and the seriousness of the topic was very well explained. And so much of information in a short period of time.
Thank you.
So much of information. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
We will have the question and answer session, ma'am. Is it okay?
Yes, yes, please.
Participants, please raise your hand, and we will have like 3 or 4 questions because of time constraint. And yes, the first question is from Bhuvanesh Kumar Balan. Please unmute yourself and go with the question, sir. Bhuvanesh Balan.
Yeah. Actually, ma'am, I'm doing a couple of research based on pornographic addiction among college students. Actually, for a behavioral intervention, what therapy would be effective? I've tried a couple of therapies like desensitization as well as aversion therapy, but both are not that much effective on students in my geographical area. So what would you suggest except those?
I think this what I have worked in through therapies. So technical eclecticism is basically the right approach, where you have to use a number of therapies, because we feel that one pill does not cure all. One shoe does not fit everybody. So a number of therapies have to be used in conjunction, depending upon the profile, depending upon the needs, and depending upon the personality of the kids. But have you tried CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy?
Nope, ma'am.
Now, I think CBT is a very good technique, thought replacement, and even mindfulness. Mindfulness is a very important technique here. You can read about it, and that has shown some very positive results. So it is like not reacting to your thoughts. Okay, if you're getting a thought of watching a porn or getting hooked to the porn or going back to the porn site again, so we just have to let the thoughts go by. And especially like this Zen transcendental meditation and the Zen meditation. So I think these kind of meditative practices, they can be used very effectively. This is my hunch, because I've been practicing with trying with these therapies. I've been using a number of therapies. TM is good. I think TM is good. You should probably try mindfulness. But it has to be ultimately what works is technical eclecticism. So please study a bit about technical eclecticism, which is a school of thought which says that it's not just through one therapy. You have to tailor make it. You have to suit it to the particular needs of that particular child. So maybe it's not for a larger group, but for a smaller group or for one particular individual. But it's not that one size will fit all. That I'm sure about it, because whenever I have tried to give one kind of therapy, it has never shown good results. So it's different for every single case.
Okay, ma'am. And how could I get your book? Is it available on Amazon?
Yes, it is available on Amazon. You can search my name, Damanjit Sandhu, and you can get an idea of that book. I think it will lead you to that link on the book published by Cambridge University Press, London.
Yeah, ma'am. And one more doubt. What's the difference between pornographic craving and addiction?
So addiction is basically just like alcohol addiction and this nicotine or other addictions. So there are different criterias. Like if you use that, different scales are there. So one is like dominance. So one criteria is the dominant. When this thing becomes the most dominant, so there'll be a scale. Of course, you will be using a scale to assess that, because we are psychometricians. We're trained in using psychometric tests, and we want to validate our whatever we are observing. We want to have a kind of a numerical evidence also. So one is the dominance. So is it the most dominant activity in your life, or the most dominating thing in your life? If you are ignoring everything else, you are neglecting your studies, you are neglecting your health, you are neglecting your relationships, then definitely it is a kind of a addiction, right? Second is mood modification. As I said earlier, once you are into it, you are enjoying, you are okay. But if you are not into it, you're feeling that there's something missing in your life, you are empty. This is a feeling of being hollow, feeling of being useless, and as if something is lacking. But the time you get back into it, you are okay, you are fine. And if somebody tries to stop you from that, you become aggressive to the point that you are even ready to fight with that person. And then there is lying. You start lying, that if somebody asks you, are you watching it? Oh, no, I will not. So, a normal person, friends normally joke at this age. Everybody says, okay, what are you doing? He said, I'm watching porn. So that is a kind of a banter, a healthy teasing, which usually people have with each other. A lot of jokes and all. But when the person feels that he has to lie about this thing, because there's a sort of guilt in that person, right? And then the person loses control. There is no control over that person. The person, okay, he says, okay, I'll just watch 1 10-minute porn movie, and then after that I'm going to get into my normal things. I can do my real life things, or I can get back to my work, or get back to my study. But once that person has lost control over his or her activity, that thing is not in your control anymore. You wanted to quit it after 10 minutes or after watching one movie or one scene, but you are now watching it endlessly. So it means there's no control over you. So there are certain parameters on the basis of which you have to give a diagnosis, or you have to give us the label that yes, that person is addicted to it. But I actually tell you, a lot of sex addiction is happening more than this substance addiction. A lot of behavioral addiction things, and internet. The major reason why internet is addictive is because of two things. One is the social media, and another one is the porn. Yeah. So, but I think you should use a scale which can give you, and all these scores, the scales, they have their cutoff scores, as you must be familiar with them. They have their norms. So the test makers, they have their norms. But on these 5-6 dimensions, as I just mentioned, so you have to base your assessment.
Thank you, ma'am.
And then I would say the biggest the litmus test I always do, like when you have to, you know, in a jiffy or very quickly, you have to give a conclusion about something. So the that biggest yardstick is that if something is interfering in your normal life, so that is problematic. If you are carrying out everything, if you're carrying out your normal life gracefully and nicely, and everything, you're doing work on time, and relationships are okay, everything is fine, so I think that is okay. But if your normal life is your real life suffering because of that, then we need to check it out. And these are the red flags. The biggest red flag is when your normal life is being disrupted, or whatever you were enjoying earlier, you are no more enjoying it anymore, and your entire energy is towards one particular activity, and you are losing out your friendships, your work, and your deadlines. So all the grassroots level. So that's what I always try to do, that if out of 7 days, at least maybe once in a week, or maybe once in a month, if your educational institution is not allowing you, so you can go into the schools and do the community work, and do the connect to the masses. And that is very important. If not physically yourself, through these videos, you can all, as I said, I make videos, or I write on Facebook for the education of the masses. So let's all, you know, create, because, you know, we have to create a big respect for our profession. There are certain professions, there are certain occupations which are highly respected. Not that it's psychology is not respected, but if we want that psychology should be brought to the number one most respected profession, or the most sought after profession in India, or in our community, where you know, people around us, they say that we want our children to be psychologists. So we have to do a lot of work, we have to create ripples, we have to create awareness, and keep on doing something. That is, then our profession will get the respect, the attention, and even the money also, which I think we all need money as well, because everybody will not be absorbed in educational institutions. We want our colleagues to have their practice, and very good flourishing practices. So it's our responsibility to create place for us, to make a place for our profession. Let the world, tell the world that you need us, and there's so much we can offer, there's so much we know that which can help you. So we have to, you know, sell our ideas, we have to sell our knowledge for those people who are into private practice, and to create keep our profession on a high pedestal.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. We have one more question, and we will go for the vote of thanks. Okay. Trishna.
Yes. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
So, ma'am, I want to ask that we often generalize the kids who are cyberbullied on the basis of stereotyping. Like if a girl who is wearing shorts, or is into posting pictures on media, more social media and all, we always say that these are the kind of people who are going to be the victims of such things. Or people who have more money are often the victims who will be actually targeted for all these things. So how do we try to eradicate this problem of stereotyping, especially in country like India?
Thank you for the question. I can speak volumes on that. See, first of all, the myths have to be broken in our own mindsets, in our societies. I think, as I always say, that never judge a book by the cover, right? And that's how we try to stereotype, we try to categorize people on certain parameters which are just visible to us, right? So as psychologists, we need to first of all make a work on creating such an environments in which people, they actually or it's ingrained in their minds that don't go by the appearance of a person, what clothes he wears, how high the heels are, what makeup, whatever. See, the most important thing has to be what that person can do for the society. That has to be the yardstick for your for measuring, or for if somebody has to judge you, or if somebody has to talk about you. Our criteria of evaluating somebody as good or bad should not be based upon that person's exterior, that looks, or whatever he has inherited, or what car he or she is driving, or what his or her friends are like. So this mindset has to change. And during this COVID time, I think there cannot be a greater example to the world to understand, to know that whom does the world need. And if you can do something for the world, if you can do something for the society, then you are a person who is actually good. So the definition of being good, or being the right person, as the society considers a girl's wearing shorts, or wearing makeup, or a girl who is always flaunting, that person, or even this film stars, whatever. So it is not just the external appearance. The yardstick of measuring the utility of a person is what that person can do for the society. It's got nothing to do with the way you look, the way the family you belong to, what your social media profile is, what your family status is. So this, first of all, these things have to go away. Then secondly, if I talk from the feminist perspective, it's like we all are born in a country which is free, right? We all have the right to wear whatever we want to. We all have the freedom to decorate our body the way we want to. And nobody should be able to, you should not let anyone judge you. And even if somebody is judging somebody on the basis of somebody's tattoos, or somebody's lifestyle, or somebody's relationships, or whom he or she is sleeping with, I think we need to snub that too. As educated citizens, as responsible citizens, we have to break few myths of society. And let's all start from that. And number 3, even whatever you are, whatever you might be portraying yourself on the social media, it does not mean that you are available for being bullied. Anybody has a right to walk on you, or anybody has a right to disrespect you. So these things, these myths have to be broken, these things have to be challenged. And as social scientists, as psychologists, this is another one big duty of us, that nobody has the right to violate us, nobody has the right to disrespect us, and nobody has a right to aggress upon us. Whatever we are, whatever we are portraying ourselves to be, there's a boundary, there's a bubble. Just like in the physical world, we have a bubble around us, there's something called personal space. Similarly, in the cyber world, there's a bubble, and we need to respect that person's bubble, that person's rights, that person's privacy. And nobody has the right to step into the other person's intimate zone without that person allowing him or her to be. So I mean, there were a lot of memes recently on the internet that where are these footballers now? Where are these Hollywood stars now? Where are these Bollywood stars now? Who is being helpful? Tell them to find a solution, find a treatment for corona, or find a vaccine for corona. So I think the right person, the best person, is the one who can do something for the society, who can help others, whosoever he or she might be. I can just give you an anecdote which I read in one social psychology book only. I don't want to deviate much from the substance. from what we are talking about, but it's just like an eye opener. Sometimes certain things said by somebody can be an eye opener. So it's a small story which I want to relate here, because you embarked upon a very sensitive topic. So there's a man and a woman, they're walking down the street, and suddenly the man is hit by a bullet, and the wife screams. She says, help, 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 I need help. And suddenly a gentleman appears from nowhere. He said, yes ma'am, what is wrong, what is happening? And she said, are you a doctor? He said, no, I am not a doctor, but I am a very nice man. I never break people's hearts. She said, no, I just don't need you. I need a doctor. He said, no, ma'am, I go to the church every day. I can help you. I'm a very nice person. I don't lie. I have never cheated upon anybody. I'm a very simple person. I never go to the pubs. I never go for drinking. And I have a very decent lifestyle. She said, no, I don't need you. I need a doctor. He said, no, ma'am, I have been very faithful to my wife. I have done whatever the society expected me to. She said, bloody hell, go away. I don't need you. I just need a doctor. So this explains all. So whatever we might be in our personal lives, in our the way we look, the way we conduct ourselves, that's absolutely got nothing. What the world needs is people who can create a change, people who can help humanity, people who can do things for others. So it is totally immaterial, and I think the COVID situation has explained it all. They are the people who just their contribution to the society, or their what they're doing for the world, that has to be the criteria of judging somebody. First of all, we don't need to judge somebody, but in case we have to judge somebody, because human mind will never stop from judging somebody, the best criteria to judge somebody is that what is that person's contribution to the humanity, or what he's doing for others. I think we need to shift to that.
Thank you for the wonderful explanation, ma'am. Now it's like time for us to go for the vote of thanks. I call upon Dr. Sujata Malni, Head Department of Psychology and Principal of B.Ed College in Alagappa University, to deliver the vote of thanks. Ma'am, unmute yourself, ma'am.
Thank you, madam, for your wonderful and vast knowledge. Has been every for all those things. Time of maybe 2 hours because lot of questions was arising from YouTube related to online safety and online problems, how to solve that. So in that case, I hope it will be very difficult for answer all the things. So I just request all the participants to contact our speaker through email or other communication so that they can get clarification through madam, because madam has got a variety of experience and a lot of therapy she is giving, and different exposure was evinced through her overall speech, starting from 4 o'clock. Continuously, she has given a lecture on online safety and online measures that a participant has to take. Because really, it is very what is the informative session, ma'am, and a very enthusiastic session where we have learned a lot of things in this presentation. So, on behalf of the Department of Special Education, Alagappa University, and Department of Psychology, American College, it's my great pleasure to record my sincere thanks for being with us for the past 1 hour, 1.5 hours. And you have given a very informative knowledge to all the participants who are here. And you have made all the participants to get aware of how to handle their children and how to handle their participation in the online searching and online materials and online apps, how to do that. And I'm so happy that all the participants, they have raised the question and you have answered in a very calm and very in-depth manner, not just within to the point, but it is very elaborative, very informative. So in this respect, it's my pleasure to record my sincere thanks to you, ma'am. Thank you on
ma'am.
behalf of myself and the Alagappa University and Suresh sir and American College. And I also thank MC, today's Akshaya and Ananya for being with us and helping us to get all the questions to be clarified by the speakers. On the whole, at the outset, I thank today's two speakers, Shanmukh and the other person from Punjab University, Daman Madam, for being with us and explaining their knowledge and giving information to the participants. So on the whole, I record my sincere thanks, and I thank Suresh sir, the coordinator for this program, for conducting excellent session for all our participants. I request all the participants to raise your questions, or even you can give in the chat box, so that it will be answered by the participants or the speakers through email or any other mode of communication if you want. So on the whole, I record my sincere thanks to all the participants who raised the questions, and I request you to come and join once again tomorrow by 3 o'clock, and a lot of seats are also available in Zoom, so that those who are in live channel, they can also log in into the Zoom, and they can come to this chat room and they can join in the meeting. So with this request, I thank all the participants and the speakers and MC and coordinator for being with us for this past 2 hours. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.